Hi there, welcome back. Well, I had to tackle the tough one, which is the stuck tuning condenser. I think it's the stuck tuning condenser on the shortwave bands, shortwave 3 to shortwave 10. And I've had to start doing some dismantling, and I thought I'd start filming because it's always a good idea to have a record of this. I'm going to remove this board here. It's on the underside. By the way, that's the power transformer I mentioned earlier. This board seems to be covering up the condenser, which is inside there. Now, I think, yeah, this is the FM board because the FM tuner is over here. And before I go much further, I just want to record this so I don't get lost, and perhaps it'll help you in the future. First thing I did is I removed the dial cord pulley from there. I turn this completely counterclockwise to the end, 108. Then you just push it out gently. It comes out of there quite gently, and I tape it all with tape so that it doesn't get lost. Hopefully I won't have to rewind it because it might just hold it in place. Now, what I need to do to get rid of this, or to get this out, I noticed there were 3 screws at the top there. Actually, you can see them here. Just for your information, the middle one doesn't need to come out. It's just holding this shield in place. So it's the top 2, the end 2 that come out. But before you can remove it, you have to remove these 2 wires from here. These 2 wires get removed from there. The ground at the bottom, the yellow one at the top. And also, I'm not sure it's absolutely necessary, but I removed these 2 from here. That's that end one over there. And this one here is from that sort of common ground over there. Now it seems we can remove this. Now there's still an umbilical cord, this yellow cord over here. And we'll leave that in place and try and just sort of flip this out and see how far we get. And hold it in place and see if we can get underneath there. Well, it looks like we found the problem. This is that tuning condenser. It's got quite a few sections, as you can see. And this is because this thing has got 2 IFs. But we'll get into that possibly a bit later. But I think this whole condenser is just jammed. If you look at it here, whatever was holding that, and I think it was a little clip that I have here, had broken. So I think what happened is this thing never got used. Shortwave 3 to 10 never got used. The tuning condenser got jammed, and you can see this almost looks like rust. Maybe not. I think it's jammed, completely jammed. And therefore somebody put a bit of pressure on here. You can see that is sort of turning while it was there, and it's supposed to just clip in there. See if we can see that. We'll see that in the end. I'm sure we'll get this loose, and that does the tuning. So I think this condenser is completely frozen up, and I'm going to see what I can do about loosening it up, and perhaps we'll have our reception back. By the way, this FM board is held in place with whatever I could get. This is not touching. You've got to be very gentle with this. You don't want to create a bigger problem than you're solving. So yeah, let's see what I can do about that condenser. Do you want to know what the most beautiful music in the world is? It's the one you hear when you put the volume up on a band that was dead. It doesn't really matter what it is. It sounds great. That, my friends, is shortwave 5. Now, This has got a lot of problems still, but let me show you what happened. And this thing actually moves quite easily. You just do that, it slips. Later on we'll have to find out exactly where it's meant to go. So this thing is dialing, is tuning end to end. There's the end. So now we've got quite a bit of cleaning of those the drum contacts to do, but that's another thing. See, these drum contacts are filthy, and you can hear it when you rotate that the drum mechanism at the top there. You can actually hear it cracking like crazy. It's because the contacts aren't being made properly. So the next thing I need to do is get out some isopropyl alcohol and cotton swabs and give all these contacts a proper cleaning. And then we'll see if we've got all the bands back. But I'm really chuffed. I'm really chuffed. But first things first, I need to put the FM board back as well, before I forget how to do it. All right, we are one step further. Listen to this. This is shortwave 8. This is BBC World Service on about 18 megahertz.
Tend to hang out with other people. And I think likewise there's a phone usage that number of countries are left right to have these phones. So I think
I can tune up, I can tune on the normal spread, and I can do on the band spread, which just takes the 16 meter band. This is on the normal spread now.
Make sure that they're focusing on those groups, otherwise you are going to end up.
That is a pretty good signal. I've cleaned the drum connections at the back. So let's go down a bit. This is on the 25 meter band. Let's do the band spread. This is amazing. Bit lower down, this is 31 meter band. Which I can band spread as well. And as I get lower, depending on the time, this is mid-afternoon, it's weaker for now. This is a bit better in the evening. The 7-8 megahertz band. Still getting stuff. Okay, so what have we concluded? Well, let me just show you something. All these connections got properly cleaned. All the contact points on the drums got properly cleaned. These were obviously very, very tarnished. And I've left one out to show you. This is a little pen-like gadget with fiberglass hairs inside. And a viewer kindly sent me this, because this thing is perfect to clean tarnished connections. You literally just sort of brush them. And the result is it comes out completely shiny. You can use this on connector wires, connection pins, you can basically use this anywhere where connect tarnish comes up, and these things are amazing. They come with a whole lot of spare fillers in here. I think I've got enough here to last me a lifetime, and I hope to live a long time. So that was all done. All those were cleaned. You just keep rolling and you keep cleaning. And then of course you've got the let's call them the female connectors to clean as well. So what I do is I put a bit of contact cleaner in there, and then I rotate this all again, and so on and so forth. So all the bands that are on here I can now receive, which was the problem we had when we first did that test. And the way this receives them is you select shortwave 3 to 10 at the top there, and this is your band, okay? This is the band in question. And then what you can do is you can either put this button down, which is the normal band, and you get the frequencies that are on the bottom here. Now the frequencies on the bottom here in this case are from about 23 megahertz to about 30 megahertz, okay? However, inside this band there is a so-called commercial band. And a commercial band is usually a part of the bandwidth where commercial stations transmit. And that band is shown here as the 11 meter band. And that's shown here as the band at the top. In other words, if you push this up, you're getting a band spread, and that then only tunes within that orange 11 meter band, which means it starts at 25.4 to about 26.4. And this is quite easily demonstrated. If we go a bit lower, let's go to 6. I'm got the selector down, so I'm tuning the 10.5 megahertz to about 13.5 megahertz. And we get to here and it's very busy. There's a French station. Don't know what that is. Spanish. So, what do you do here? You take this up, and you're now going to tune the 25 meter band, commercial band, all the way across the dial. So if we start at the end here,
sur sa prolongation avec cette équipe. Las 24 horas Pierre-Emerick Necart.
So what we get is we get that little bit of the band stretched all the way across. And this is amazing. This is one of the features that made this series of world receivers so popular. Not only Grundig did this, but Grundig did this very well. And what I found is now I've got all of them working all the way down to shortwave 3. The quality of reception will depend on the time of day. It'll depend on the atmospheric conditions that will be propitious or not for that particular frequency. The other thing I've noticed is that this antenna tuner actually works. It might be difficult to demonstrate because it depends on the frequency. Sometimes it's easier on the higher bands. It depends on which frequency band it's on. I can't get this to quite give us the demonstration I want right now. Bear in mind I'm using a mini whip, which is a little bit of an unconventional impedance that this antenna is seeing. It's really, well, I suppose it's practically a 50 ohm impedance I think this thing is putting out. It is not particularly faithful to what you would expect from a normal HF dipole or something like that. So, but there was a band early on, I can't remember which one it was that I was testing, where I could notice the level of noise going up and going down depending on where this was set. So I'm quite happy with that. It's doing no harm anyway. And so what do we have really? Well, it seems that we have all these working: long wave, medium wave, shortwave 1, shortwave 2, all the shortwaves here from shortwave 3 all the way to shortwave 10, plus the FM. So all the radio is working. Now there are a few things, or quite a few things I want to do here. And one of them is I noticed that the RF front end was not tuned properly. Okay, here's an example. Yesterday when I tested this, I got one result, and today I'm getting another. This is what I've done. I've got this thing on the 41 meter range. It's on shortwave 4. It goes from 6.6 megahertz to about 8.5 megahertz. Now I've got the signal generator emitting a signal at 7 megahertz with a modulated tone. So if I tune to 7, I should hear it. And here it is. I'm getting it on 7 point something, 7.1, 7.05. It's not too bad actually. If I go up here to the band spread and try and find it on 7, which is over there, it's actually coming through on 7.03. It's again not bad. That's 7.1 there. 7.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7.025. It's actually not bad, but it's not quite spot on. Now what I found is this. Whereas today I'm getting it at just before 7.05, yesterday it was over here somewhere. And why is that? Well, for some reason, since yesterday, when I worked on fixing the tuning condenser, degunking the tuning condenser, and today this RF front end has moved. And I racked my brains for a while, and then I remembered what I'd been doing yesterday. I sprayed a hell of a lot of stuff into that tuning condenser to get it unstuck. I tried to avoid the actual fins with the contact cleaner that I sprayed in there, and then also with some lubricant on the ends and so on. But especially with the contact cleaner, I'm sure some of the spray got onto the fins of the tuning condenser, which of course changes the value of the capacitance that it's going to show us, which means that probably on the RF, probably on the oscillator section, this thing was everywhere. The value of the capacitance that I was getting when I tune here is different to what it is today because some of it is evaporated. So this is one of those strange cases where you need to let it settle for a few days before you do any front-end alignment on here. And I think I'm going to do that. I'm not promising it just yet, but I've got the instructions. I'm getting them, well, I'm translating them a little bit at a time. It seems like quite an interesting exercise, and I may do that because I really would like to get this very accurate. So what I'm talking about is doing the IF alignment for the AM, which is, it's got 2 IF frequencies. It's got a 460 kilocycles, which is pretty normal, but it has another one which is 2 megahertz. So this is a dual conversion receiver. In other words, it's got 2 intermediate frequencies, and that helps with selectivity and sensitivity. And I think I'm beginning to see what all the hype about this radio is about, because this thing is incredibly sensitive. Even though it's inaccurate, it is incredibly sensitive, especially some of the bands that I've probably never picked up well on my other radios. This thing is picking up beautifully. Last night I was testing the long wave, and I picked up stuff here I've never heard before. You know, I picked up the usual ones, but then I picked up some stuff I've never heard before. And I've had a lot of radios go through this workshop. So this one is living up to its hype. But anyway, I'm going to leave this another day or two before I start tampering with with the actual RF alignment. Let the condenser settle down. Let it sort of get used to what it's going to keep between its blades and what capacitance value it's going to demonstrate for us. You know, that could be a problem, because if the stuff stays stuck between the blades, we then get a discrepancy between, you know, what is being tuned at the front end and what's being tuned in the oscillator. But I won't worry about that. I think it's limited to some contact cleaner, which the stuff I use is this stuff here. You could use, well, just about anything, but this is the one I used. It's easy to get over here and it does a great job. And this stuff does evaporate. And I know it does leave a little bit of a residue. So I may have to go in there again and wash it out with isopropyl alcohol maybe. It depends on what happens here. If I notice that this thing is settled completely and it's not that far off, and in fact it isn't that far off, it's actually a very small discrepancy on this bottom band, then I'll probably just do the RF alignment with this as is. But other interesting stuff. These switches are very, very hard to clean. And the reason is very simple. They're actually pretty large. Some of them extend all the way from the top here, all the way to the bottom there. And they have very few holes in them. So what I've been doing is I've done this in stages. I did the first pass through with contact cleaner and, you know, push, 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 push. Then I let it stay for a while. This morning, this was last night, this morning I did another round, and I noticed that some of the contacts weren't perfectly responsive yet. I let it stay for a while. This afternoon I did another round, and I'll probably do another 1 or 2 rounds, meaning that I will spray it, activate them a number of times, and then come back again and do it again. Now, the fact that they don't clean up the first time doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. In fact, there doesn't seem to be any damage to these switches at all. It's just normal. The spray, the contact cleaner gets in there. Some of it spreads, some of it doesn't. When you activate it, you're actually cleaning, but you're probably not getting it all. So the idea is spray some more and leave it for a while and come back and do it again. Rinse and repeat. So that's the switches. These contacts here as well are in immaculate condition. Nobody's been at them, it seems, except me now. They're very clean, they're new. Not like the brown T1000 CD that I did, where you could see someone had actually bent these guys. I was happy to see that this was not the case. These are in perfect condition. In fact, I haven't seen any evidence of anybody else having been in here, which is always a relief, because it means you just repair or correct what's wrong and you don't have to correct other people's problems. One other thing I could say is I'm really enjoying working on this radio because I really like the way it's laid out. This one is laid out like a dream. Everything is accessible with, you know, you have to remove a board or two, but it's not difficult. It's not impossible. When you remove those boards and when you move things out, you don't risk damaging too much stuff because there isn't that much wire floating all over the chassis like some radios have. This one is actually pretty well laid out so that wires don't sort of cross too far away. I mean, it sounds like a contradiction when you look at all these wires over here, but believe me, this is actually not much compared to some of the ones you'll come across. So working on this is a pleasure, and I'm really enjoying it. And the other thing I found is the description of the alignment process is pretty intricate, and I wasn't going to go too far into that, but I've got hooked. I think I'm hooked on it, and I want to understand the every step they've taken, so I'll probably be doing some tweaking here in a future video in the series. But I think that's about it for now. I've got a lot of cleaning to do on the cabinet. I need to go and look at the setup instructions. I've got DC voltage to set. Oh, there's just so much that I still want to do on this thing. So we're still probably quite a few videos away from the end of the series. Sorry about that for those who don't like transistorized sets. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I hope you are. If you are, and if you enjoyed this video, please click like below and share it on social media and all that jazz, and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so on Patreon. Links at the end of the video and in the description below. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Stay safe.